Welcome to your deep dive on AI and the future of learning. You've shared some really interesting articles and even a bit of science fiction with us.
Oh, yeah.
Dune, to be exact,
Oh, cool.
which always gets my imagination going. What we're hoping to do today is unpack the big ideas in all of this material, A&D figure out how they might connect to your own interests and potential. And one of the biggest questions I kept coming back to in the reading was, could the rise of AI actually be part of a larger evolution in human consciousness?
It's certainly a thought-provoking question, and honestly, science fiction often tackles these big ideas head-on. But before we get too philosophical, maybe we should start with the more practical shifts that are already happening in the way we learn. The source material you shared really dives into that.
Okay, let's unpack that. One of the articles talks about a pretty radical departure from traditional learning.
Okay.
Memorizing facts, practicing skills, the whole routine of clicking and typing. It argues that all of that's about to change.
What's fascinating here is the idea that that kind of mechanical interaction with technology, almost robotic in a way, is becoming a thing of the past. As AI systems become more sophisticated, they're going to be able to handle those routine tasks, freeing us up to focus on higher level thinking.
You've hit on something that really resonated with me. This quote from one of the articles. The mechanical dance of mouse clicks and keyboard shortcuts will give way to something more natural, more aligned with how our minds actually work. I don't know about you, but I'd gladly trade in my carpal tunnel for a more intuitive way of learning.
I think a lot of people would agree with you there. And what's interesting is that you've already highlighted a key point in your source material. This desire for a more human-centered way of interacting with technology is at the heart of this shift in learning.
Now that we've explored this shift towards natural learning, let's dive into the idea of AI creating safe spaces for learning. That really captured my imagination. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on how AI might achieve this?
Well, the source material points to AI's ability to manage risk and take care of the routine, which could allow us to experiment and explore without the fear of failure. Imagine learning to paint without worrying about wasting supplies or investing without the fear of financial ruin.
Those are really vivid examples. And there's another one that really stood out to me. Designing complex structures without hitting technical roadblocks. It feels like AI could open up so many possibilities, especially in fields that require a lot of trial and error. Yeah.
What's particularly interesting is the psychological impact of this. Think about how fear has always held us back. We avoid risks, we shy away from challenges, all because we're afraid of making mistakes.
That sounds amazing in theory.
Right.
But wouldn't removing all consequences make learning less meaningful? The source material did mention the importance of feedback and iteration, even in AI-powered learning environments.
That's a good point. It's not about eliminating consequences altogether, but rather about creating a space where those consequences are manageable. So instead of being paralyzed by the fear of failure, we can embrace those micro failures as learning opportunities. What's one small experiment you could try in your own life where the stakes are low, but the potential for learning is high?
That's a great question. One of the things I've always wanted to try is 3D modeling, but the software always seems so intimidating. Maybe with AI assistance, I could actually give it a shot without feeling overwhelmed.
That's a perfect example, and that's exactly what AI can offer. A supportive environment where you can explore new skills and ideas without feeling like you're constantly on the verge of making a catastrophic mistake.
Okay, so we've got AI handling the how-to and creating safe spaces for us to explore. But the source material takes things even further, bringing in science fiction, specifically Dune.
Ah, yes, Dune. What's fascinating about Dune is how it explores the idea that technology can actually help us evolve our understanding of consciousness itself. The advanced technology in that story isn't just about spaceships and spice, it's about pushing the boundaries of human perception and understanding.
This connection to Dune is really pushing my thinking. Can you unpack that a bit further, especially as it relates to the ideas in your source material?
Absolutely. If we connect Dune to the source material, what emerges is this idea that AI isn't just about making tasks easier, it's about fundamentally changing how we learn and potentially even who we are. And this relates directly back to that big question you posed at the beginning. Could AI be part of a larger evolution of human consciousness? I think the answer is we don't know for sure, but the potential is there.
It's like we're standing at the edge of a vast, uncharted territory.
That's a great analogy. And that's where this idea of incognito learning comes in. It's a term from the source material that really captured my attention. Incognito learning really is a fascinating concept. It's all about tapping into a more natural, immersive way of learning.
Okay, help me wrap my head around this. What exactly does that look like in practice?
Well, think about how we learn as children. We don't sit down with flashcards to learn to walk or talk, right?
Right.
We absorb information through play, experimentation, and interaction with the world around us. That's the essence of incognito learning.
That makes me think about some of the things you shared in your initial notes. You mentioned how much you loved building with Legos as a kid and how that sparked your interest in design. It sounds like a classic example of incognito learning in action.
I'd say that's a pretty accurate assessment, and what's interesting is that the source material suggests we can tap back into that natural, immersive way of learning, even as adults.
So how does that work? How do we go from Legos to, say, mastering a complex skill like coding?
It's about creating environments where understanding emerges organically. The source material contrasts this with traditional education, which often focuses on rote memorization and rigid structures. Incognito learning is about getting into a flow state where learning feels almost effortless.
That reminds me of that time I taught myself to edit videos by just diving in and experimenting with different software. The hours flew by. I was so absorbed in the process that it didn't even feel like work.
That's a perfect example of what we're talking about. And with AI handling the more technical, routine aspects of a task, we're free to dive even deeper into those experiences and really immerse ourselves in the learning process.
This is making me rethink my whole approach to learning. It's not just about what we learn, but how we learn.
I think that's a really crucial insight, and it has major implications for the skills we'll need to thrive in an AI-driven future. The source material highlights a few key skills, things like conceptual thinking, communication, pattern recognition, and validation.
Okay, let's break those down. Why are those skills so crucial in this context?
Because they're the skills that allow us to collaborate effectively with AI systems. We need to be able to think critically, to articulate our goals clearly, to identify trends and patterns, and to assess the outcomes of AI-driven processes.
So it's not about competing with AI, but about working alongside it, leveraging its strengths while honing our own uniquely human skills.
Exactly. And I think this quote from your source material really captures this idea. The future belongs not to those who can execute procedures perfectly, but to those who can envision possibilities clearly and guide AI systems in bringing those visions to life. It's about becoming the architects of the future, using AI as a tool to create things that wouldn't be possible otherwise.
It's like AI is giving us the power to turn our imaginations into reality.
Yeah.
But if we're not careful, it could also limit our thinking if we become too reliant on AI to solve problems for us.
That's an important point to consider. One of the potential pitfalls of this partnership with AI is that we could lose sight of the importance of human ingenuity and problem-solving skills. It's like anything else we need to use AI as a tool, not a crutch.
So we need to make sure we're actively engaged in the learning process, even when we're working with AI. We need to ask questions, challenge assumptions, and constantly push the boundaries of what's possible.
I think that's a really crucial point, and it brings us back to that initial question about AI and the evolution of consciousness.
Okay, remind me where we left off with that. My brain is still trying to catch up with all these incredible ideas.
Well, we were talking about how the rise of AI might not just be about making things easier, but about unlocking new levels of human potential. We talked about Dune and how it explores the idea of technology pushing the boundaries of human perception and understanding.
Right, and I remember you saying that we're just scratching the surface of what might be possible.
Exactly. And I think this final thought from your source material sums it up perfectly. The real mystery isn't in the technology itself, but in how it might help us understand and access more of what we already are.
That's really thought-provoking. So it's not about AI making us superhuman, but about helping us tap into the full potential of our existing humanness.
I think that's a very insightful way to put it. It's like AI is holding up a mirror, reflecting back to us all of these incredible capabilities that we might not even be aware of.
So where do we go from here? What are the next steps in this journey of exploring our own potential? How do we make all of this real and not just some abstract idea?
That's where the rubber meets the road. And thankfully, the source material offers some concrete suggestions for how we can prepare for this future of learning.
We're back and ready to dive into the practical side of things. I'm still processing all these mind-blowing ideas about AI and human potential. But now I'm curious,
Yeah.
how do we actually apply all of this to our life? Where do we even begin?
You're right. It's one thing to talk about these big concepts, but it's another to actually integrate them into our daily lives. The source material you provided emphasizes a shift in mindset as a crucial first step.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. What kind of mindset shift are we talking about?
It's about moving away from the idea of learning as a purely mechanical process, something we do just to check a box or acquire a specific skill. Instead, we need to embrace learning as a continuous lifelong journey of growth and transformation. It's about becoming lifelong learners, always curious and open to new experiences.
That resonates with me. It's about seeing learning not just as a means to an end, but as a valuable and enriching experience in itself.
Exactly. And AI can play a crucial role in facilitating this shift. By handling those routine tasks and giving us access to new tools for exploration and experimentation, AI frees us up to focus on cultivating those uniquely human qualities that will be essential in the future.
You're talking about qualities like creativity, critical thinking, problem solving, and emotional intelligence, right? The skills that set us apart from machines.
Precisely. Those are the skills that will allow us to thrive in an AI-driven world. And the source material suggests that we need to start developing these skills now.
So what can we do, practically speaking, to prepare for this future of learning?
Well, you mentioned earlier that you've been wanting to try 3D modeling.
Right. That's a fantastic example of how you can proactively embrace this shift. Instead of letting fear hold you back, dive in and experiment. There are tons of AI-powered tools available now that can make learning a new skill like that more accessible and less intimidating.
That's a great point. AI can be a fantastic resource for overcoming those initial hurdles and getting into a flow state where learning feels more natural and enjoyable.
Exactly. And beyond specific skills, there are other things you can do to cultivate this mindset of continuous learning. Seek out new experiences, challenge your assumptions, and engage in thoughtful conversations with people who have different perspectives. One of your sources actually talks about the importance of building learning communities, groups of people who are passionate about exploring new ideas and supporting each other's growth.
I love that idea. It's about recognizing that learning doesn't have to be a solitary pursuit. In fact, it's often more rewarding and impactful when we learn together.
Absolutely. And as you engage in this process of continuous learning, don't be afraid to experiment with new technologies and tools as they emerge. The more comfortable you are with technology, the better equipped you'll be to leverage its power for learning and growth.
It strikes me that this is really a call to action. It's not just about passively waiting for the future to arrive, but about actively shaping it by embracing new ways of thinking and learning.
I couldn't agree more. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to circle back to that final question from your source material. If AI can handle the doing, what new forms of human expression might emerge?
What a powerful question.
Hmm.
It really invites us to imagine a world where human creativity and potential are unleashed in ways we haven't even begun to fathom.
Exactly. We're on the verge of something truly extraordinary, and it's up to each of us to step into this future with a sense of wonder and possibility.
Thank you so much for guiding us through this incredible exploration. I feel like my understanding of AI, learning, and the future of human potential has expanded exponentially today.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listener, we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and given you some valuable insights and inspiration for your own learning journey. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking those big questions. Until next time.